Hey guys, welcome back to Storytime with Amanda, and on today's episode I'm going to continue with the dating chronicles or the dating disaster stories. So in the last video we talked about a Match.com fail. Well, here is Match.com fail number 2. So this was also during the time frame of the last story. So I was probably about 3 months into the 6 months, paid the first 6 months. If you don't find anybody, we'll give you 6 months free, right? So this gives you time frame, about 3 months into it, right? I've already had this first dating fiasco. And I'm like, I'm pretty hesitant about going on another date, but I get asked on another date, and I'd been speaking like back and forth on the Messenger app and stuff that Match had with this gentleman for about 3 weeks or so, right? So I was pretty comfortable with the conversation. We had a lot in common. He lived fairly close, like literally just a town over. Also didn't have any kids, but understood the relationship with children because he had tons of nieces and nephews, came from a really big family, and actually helped with his sister when she was a single parent. He lived with her and helped on the weekends taking care of her while she was at work, right? Taking care of her daughter. So I was like, okay, so he's been around kids. Not necessarily, it's not a deal breaker for me, but at the same time, I'm like, this is a positive. Okay, we're going with it. So same scenario where we meet at a restaurant, go out to eat. We both meet at the restaurant, like we don't ride together or anything. We're sitting down, we're having a good time. He orders an alcoholic beverage, I do not, which didn't bother me, because he wasn't like pounding them back or anything. Like he had the one and then he had water after that. We're having great conversation, just like it was on the Messenger app. Conversations and topics are flowing from one to the next, enjoying the time. And then the meal, we got our appetizers, had a great time, because first he started with his drink, so I just had my drink, and then we ordered appetizers, then we ordered our dinner, and then we ordered dessert, right? And at that point I was kind of like, I was really digging the guy, and I was kind of sad that the date was almost over, but we were already kind of discussing date number 2, so I was like, oh, cool, and he was actually telling me about how he had tickets to medieval times that he needed to use, and I was like, okay, well, I like medieval times. That sounds like a fun date, and if you already have the tickets, why not, so we figured out when it was going to work out and stuff. And I had asked him, like, out of curiosity, I'm like, did you get these from work? Is that like some kind of a discount thing that y'all get, or was it something for school? Because he was also taking classes at the university close by. And he was like, oh no, these are tickets I bought with my wife. What? Your wife? What do you mean, your wife? And he's like, oh, I'm married. Your what? And he's like, oh yeah, yeah, we're separated right now. So I've been seeing other people. Okay, probably something you should have said like way up front, right? Because I was very much up front on my profile. Like the very first line said, I'm a single parent, so if you don't like that, keep scrolling. And the second line at the time said, and I also live with my parents due to being a single parent. So if that bothers you, keep scrolling, because I wanted to be upfront, utmost in the beginning with anybody that was coming across my profile, right? So like probably should have said something in the first 72 hours of us speaking that you're married. because like I'm not into that, but there are some people that are. I'm not dogging on them. That's their forte, that whatever floats their boat, right? Like, I'm not here to judge you. But in that moment, I was kind of judging him, because I was like, so you just wasted this whole evening, and then, okay, I don't understand why. And he was like, well, you know, we're just not getting along, and so we legally separated. And I'm like, what? Anyways, so let me tell you, after the date was over, okay, the date ended. Didn't end on a negative note. I wasn't rude or anything. I was just kind of like, what? So I'll be honest. I went home and I pulled up the online search, because it's public record if someone files for legal separation. And sure enough, he did. Him and his wife were legally separated. I was like, okay. So that kind of, you know, that in the state of Texas, that's like the first step to filing for divorce now. So I was like, okay, maybe I'll give him the opportunity on another date to kind of see and feel out the situation, right? So he texted me a couple days later, messaged me and asked if I was still interested in the medieval times date. I was like, sure, sounds like a blast. I was like, but let me go ahead and preface that I did actually verify that you were legally separated. Like, I'm not trying to be a crazy stalker, but like, I gotta protect myself. I have a child, so like, I don't want to invest time in someone that's blown smoke, right? Whatever. Anyways, we go on the date to medieval times. We have a blast. Super gentleman, super sweet. Conversation again was great. We had a fantastic time out there. And this was a situation where we met at like a mutual spot, and then rode together. So he drives us back to the mutual spot. I get in my car, I go home. Never heard from the guy again, right? Never heard from him. I thought things went fantastic. I don't know. I didn't hold his hand. I wasn't kissing on him or anything. So I don't know if it was that bothered him. Like, maybe he had used the whole, like, he was separated thing and was able to get certain emotional attachments out of other women. I don't know. I'm just not that kind of person. And like, after finding out that he was technically still married, like, I'm definitely not going to be a home wrecker, right? You know, like, we're going to have to work on this. But here's where it gets best, like the best part of the story. So that happened. My kiddo was about 2 or 3 when that date happened. 2 years down the road, I'm picking my kid up from daycare, right? And at the time, she was in a private school that had private pre-K classes. So she was at this institution or whatever. So I'm going to pick her up. And I pull in the parking lot, I get out of the car, and I'm walking into the building. And as I am opening the door, after I put in my little punch code thing, you know, I'm opening the door, and I am serious as a heart attack. He walks out of the door with his bride, who he was married to when we went on the date, and their twin girls in car seats. Okay, you want to talk about real uncomfortable and awkward, because I mean, I very easily could just, you know, smile and nod and keep walking, you know, like I'm not gonna make a scene or anything, especially in that scenario. Like, I'm not gonna disrespect him like that, or his wife for that matter. I'm sure, you know, that's on him to tell her if we went on a date or not. Nothing happened anyways, but still, like, he, of course, on the other hand, was like mortified. And he's like, literally, and his wife's like, what's going on, you know? And he says hi to me and stuff, and he's trying to like make casual conversation about my kiddo and his kids going there and stuff. And I was like, oh, that's great, you know, it was nice to run into you, but I gotta go, I gotta pick up my daughter, you know. And I wasn't trying to be rude, but I was like, you already are making these super weird, like, then your wife is like starting to question things. So maybe y'all should go. You can explain all that in the car. I'm gonna go get my kid and I'm gonna go home too, you know? So anyways, by the time I got to the door to get my kiddo and we got back out to the parking lot, they were long gone. And I never saw them again after that. And my kid was still at that school for another year. So I don't know if they just stopped going or if like our timing was just different, because I never asked, never heard from him. But it was just like not only did I go on a date with you and you tell me that you're married, but then I go on a second date with you, I don't hear from you ever. So it was like date 2 and 3 fail. And then I run into you at our daycare for our kids. Awkward. Ew. Yeah. So that's part of the Dating Chronicles disaster stories. So I've got more coming, so stay tuned. So in the meantime, y'all have a wonderful week. Try to retain your sanity if at all possible. Spread kindness like glitter, as always. And don't be a grown man bully. Okay? Do your best not to be a grown man bully. I know it's hard, but y'all have a good one.